The fiat system is failing. Guys, I've been outspoken about how we can escape the fiat-based system, which is, of course, a dead end. When it comes to the general question of, oh, are we going to have a complete financial reset? How will this total financial reset be accomplished? I believe the narrative is already being told. I adore Franklin Templeton's piece because it asks, once you have all your assets in a digital wallet-based ecosystem, why go back to fiat? This is at the Federal Reserve in Philadelphia. Sandy Cole is in charge of digital assets and innovation. She discusses the potential drawbacks and inefficiencies of switching between fiat and tokenized assets. In essence, what she's saying is, why would we use fiat anything? Why would we use fiat-based systems at all? Why don't we simply replace everything with digital wallets, tokenized platforms, and tokenized assets? Seeing that this is already taking place is not too difficult, particularly when you include all of the well-known figures who are already beginning to tokenize in significant ways. Watch this short clip.
If we move, seriously move, and fast from an account-based to a wallet-based ecosystem, which is really the direction that we is traveling. Once you have all your assets in the wallet, you can maintain your assets in that wallet-based ecosystem without having to go back to the account. Right? And so you need to think about this migration into a container where all your assets are just side by side in wrappers that are interoperable and in wrappers that are programmable. Right? It may become super inefficient to actually go back to the account. That may become the drag on the system. People may want to stay fully within the wallet-based ecosystem. So I think that, again, it's starting to really pull the rest out, get out of the way that we've been doing it for the last 20 or 30 years, and think about what the potential of the technology offers, right? I'm just simply extrapolating the potential of the technology offers. I think you start to have a very different vision of what the future may look like. And this idea of fiat really does become less and less important as more and more of our daily lives move into and stay in the wallet-based ecosystem.
And she's right. On the surface, it seems like she is discussing the potential redesign of finance. But in reality, she's also asking us, why would we return to fiat? And is a total reset possible? This is definitely a possibility, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, I sort of return to what has been going on in the globe. For instance, the United Kingdom recently declared its intention to issue its first digital sovereign bond by the beginning of 2027. This country is the first in the G7 to use a distributed ledger for government debt. This is kind of crazy, especially when we consider what the US was accused of doing by Russia. I am aware that this user is attempting to claim that this is a brand new, full-fledged video, but it isn't. Again, they are discussing debt of $35 trillion. We're already getting close to $40 trillion. However, Putin's counsel stated that Washington will force debt, devalue it, and reset the system. Pay close attention to this. Considering what was recently announced in the UK, this is actually quite intriguing.
Америка прямо сейчас пытается поменять правила на рынке золота и криптовалют. Вспомните, какой у них долг. 35 триллионов долларов. В общем-то, это два альтернативных валютному сегменту мировых рынка. Действия Вашингтона в этом направлении отчетливо демонстрируют одну из главных американских задач. Они очень хотят решить проблему снижения доверия к доллару. США, как это было и в 30-е, и в 70-е годы, будут решать свои финансовые проблемы за счет всего мира, загоняя всех куда? В криптовалютное облако. Со временем, когда часть госдолга США будет размещена в стейблкоинах, США обесценит этот долг. Еще раз простыми словами, у них сейчас валютный 35-триллионный долг, они его загоняют в крипту, в облако, обесценивают и начинают с нуля. Это для тех, кто очень любит заниматься криптой.
So, if you read what was said there, are we really witnessing the United States engaging in this behavior? I do believe that the US is adopting stablecoins and essentially using them as a financial weapon in order to confront the global fall in the use of dollars. Are they now depreciating stablecoins by packing all that debt into them? Who knows? Who knows what the ultimate objective is? I take this with a grain of salt, but I'm curious to see how this plays out now that the UK is beginning to introduce debt products on a chain. However, I did say back on September 9th that the US government is 100% using stablecoins backed by US dollars as financial weapons because of what Russia did declare in that video clip. This is exactly the same as what they have been doing for decades with the fake dollar. They are aware that they have complete control since they possess the most liquid digital currency within the digital system. It all becomes extremely evident when we combine this information with the fact that stablecoin issuers have been the main buyers of U.S. Treasury bonds. In order to reduce our dependency on other nations purchasing U.S. debt instruments, they will encourage and weaponize U.S. dollar stablecoins, collaborating with their issuers to make sure they become major buyers of U.S. Treasuries. This will also result in the U.S. debt being revalued in order to erase it entirely and restart the financial system, as Russia recently stated. Greetings from the new financial era and, eventually, the new financial system. And when we consider this and examine the current state of our currency and financial system, we are beginning to observe a transition to the new system in regions of the world that are beginning to collapse. Asia, for instance. Asia experienced a huge crash. In a single session, nearly $1 trillion was wiped out of Asian markets. Why? The conflict between the US and Iran. Iran declared that the Strait of Hormuz was closed once more as the United States conducted a fresh round of strikes. Oil increased by more than 4%. Asia depends on the strait. Taiwan, Japan, and Korea were struck first and worst because they import almost all of their oil through it. Higher oil prices do not end here, though. Because energy is a component of all costs, it directly contributes to inflation. A higher yield is required to hold a government debt when the market prices increase due to inflation. That's precisely what's taking place. The yield on Japan's 10-year bonds increased by 2.7% to about 2.8%. At 4.915, the yield on UK 10-year bonds reached nearly 5%. The yields on US 10-year and 20-year bonds reached about 4.6% and 5.1% respectively. When yields increase simultaneously in all key markets, the market anticipates tightening rather than easing. I do believe that the reverse is taking place in this situation. We'll probably start to see some relaxing, but the key issue we're looking at here is whether or not this will continue, in which case we'll start to see a tightening. It depends on how this develops, how it spreads, and how severe it actually gets. However, I'm more interested in what Asia is currently doing. Since Japan has been breaking, we are aware of this. We've been highlighting that a lot. Additionally, Korea has been shattering. I take it that this is happening at precisely the same time. As an example, the Korean exchange stopped trading for program selling when the Kospi fell 6%. $250 billion was lost. This comes after the president yesterday described the market as fragile. But take a look at what Korea is doing. It's absurd. Cryptocurrency has been formally acknowledged as a national asset in South Korea. State-owned property will be tokenized as securities by the government, which will then distribute the profits to the general public. Furthermore, South Korea just raised interest rates for the first time since January 2023 by 25 basis points to 2.75%. Hold on then. The South Korean economy is essentially imploding. They now want to tokenize state-owned real estate because they see cryptocurrency as a national asset. Wouldn't it make a lot of sense for the fiat system to utterly fail and crash with a complete reset to on-chain digital 24/7 365 if we were considering switching to a digital-based one? I consider the situation in Japan, don't I? Their 10-year yield reached its highest point in 30 years, but this coincided with Japan's severe decline. We've been discussing it. Is Japan done? Are they imploding here? Is what we've been asking. Like, what's happening? However, during this period, a law officially recognizing cryptocurrency as a financial asset was also passed. Additionally, if we look into this, we find that, in addition to bringing cryptocurrency assets under security-style regulation, the move also adds insider trading prohibitions, improved disclosure guidelines, and market oversight that aligns cryptocurrency with traditional financial instruments in addition to the framework already established by the Payment Services Act. At a time when the fiat-based economy is under tremendous pressure, we are seeing countries transition to digital. This is absurd, particularly in light of what Sandy Cole is saying, because it goes beyond simply saying, oh, we're seeing tokenization, so why even utilize the fiat system? I primarily consider the reasons behind our shift to tokenized digital-based procedures. In actuality, the fiat currency system has been beset with inefficiencies. It has been beset by serious risk associated with debt. There was a brief period in 2020 and 2021 when there was some conjecture within the XRP community regarding the possibility of a total washout of debt products. The debt will be reset. In a big way, we are going on chain. Everything will be in a chain. I don't know exactly how this will unfold, but I do recall the big reset story. For a while, the World Economic Forum discussed the Great Reset, as I recall. I believe that a big bang-like event is necessary for everything to shift on-chain and go digital. What is that going to be? Will there be a complete contagion-like effect in the markets if Japan implodes? I don't know. However, a significant event is about to occur. There will be an event that makes every country's hand move in a chain. Most of them have already started. Russia, the United States, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. And even in the United States, correct? The future of money will be shaped by digital assets, stablecoins, tokenization, and new payment systems, as Scott Bessent just stated on July 8th. It's true that this is taking place. It's really evident where we're going when the Treasury is discussing these kinds of issues. It would make a lot of sense, but I'm not sure if Russia was right about us simply pouring debt into stablecoins, depreciating them, and then resetting the system, especially in light of the Treasury's strong support for stablecoins. This has led us to believe that stablecoins do, in fact, contribute to the dollar's continued dominance, even in a digital-based system. And consider what that means for currencies at a time when every major currency in the world is considering a digital base comparable, if that is indeed the case, and we are going to experience a complete devaluation and reset of debt. Lock yourself in. Having said that, I sincerely hope you all found this video entertaining. I'll be posting free stuff, so if you did, please like, subscribe, and enable notifications. Please feel free to follow me on Twitter and sign up for the free Discord channel found in the description below. Having said that, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I appreciate you watching. Guys, have some peace.